I'm here to tell you all about how to list your place on Airbnb and make money while you travel. I own my home in Kingston, New York, and I absolutely love listing it on Airbnb and giving people the experience of staying in a place that's local and affordable while they're traveling. I'm gonna break this down in 11 easy steps. First thing first, when you are thinking of listing your home, you wanna go ahead and check all of the local hotels in the area that have efficiencies. You're gonna check out the pricing, what kind of amenities they have. Next thing, you're gonna go ahead and check all the local Airbnbs. I have a 3-bedroom house, but I list it as a 1-bedroom, 1 bath with a living room, dining room, kitchen, outdoor sitting area. I only list it as a 1-bedroom because
I don't want major parties and ragers.
And I definitely lock all of the different spaces in my home that I don't want people to have access to. So when I start researching Airbnb online, I go ahead and I type up a 1-bedroom in Kingston, New York, and I see what's out there. I look at their decor, I look at their amenities, I check out their bio and their info. That's how you start. So after you've checked out all of those different Airbnb and hotel options, you want to make sure you come down to a list of 3 or 4 that are within the same area, are comparable to your price point or where you're thinking of going. And then you start planning from there. Step number 3, clean out your home. Clean out the clutter, repaint if you have to, and bring it up to par. With that being said, I don't have the best looking bathroom. I definitely cleaned out all of the shower and got it sparkly white, but I have some rust in some areas that I just couldn't get rid of. So I'm very honest about that in my listing. It's okay if your home isn't 100% perfect because people are staying in your place because of its charm, its character, and because of you. In this step, you really want to decide what parts of your home you want to make accessible to the people who are staying with you.
Do you want them to have access to your dryer and washer?
Do you want to lock up certain places within your house? I make sure I keep my bedroom off limits and my daughter's room off limits. In the beginning, when I started this, I would actually remove everything from my bedroom and let people come and stay in my room. After you've cleaned your house, painted it if you needed to, you're going to move on to step number 4. You want to remove all of your personal belongings from the rooms that you're going to rent, or make it super easy for them to be moved out and put in an area that you're locking. So in my bedroom, I had interchangeable nightstands. I didn't want to go ahead and empty out everything in my nightstands.
And I definitely didn't want people to see what was in my nightstands.
So I would take my nightstands out, put them in a locked room, and put the new nightstands in. Something super easy, like a little stool from Five Below or something cute from Target. Super inexpensive, but yet adds the charm that you're looking for. I also removed anything that I didn't want people to touch or get into. Number 5, stage your home and start taking pictures. When I first rented out my place, I pretty much left it as is. As time evolved, I started to make my home a little bit more Airbnb friendly. I bought the pillows, I bought some blankets, and I started to stage it just a little differently. I went to places like secondhand stores and thrift stores to find cute little baskets to add my towels to, or a little welcome basket. So think about inexpensive ways to add a cute little charm to your place. Step number 6. You're going to create a story about your Airbnb. That's right, a story. What it is to stay there, what it means, what it embodies. We call mine the Macaw City House. Why? I don't like macaw birds. They don't really resemble anything necessarily to me, but because I painted my house bright yellow and turquoise in the front, people started to call it the Parrot House. Well, the macaw is a parrot, and it seemed to have quite a spirit. And the story behind the bird really symbolized my journey through being a married mother to a divorced woman and all of my responsibilities. And so I created this story around what the macaw was and how it was a calling to me, how the bright, vibrant colors really took over and was able to share a story about who I am, what my house represented, and how it brought the community into it. So you want your story to have a meaning and a mission. You want your person who's viewing your Airbnb to be compelled to stay there. I also made it so my people would want to send me a message before they came to stay. They would start an ongoing conversation with me and feel the connection to my place. I didn't want people to come in that didn't treat my house with dignity, respect, and love. Step number 7, you want to start pulling together your listing. You want to think about the amenities you offer. Do you have a drying board? Do you have a steamer? Do you have an iron? I have a fire pit. Do I want them to use the fire pit while they're there? I have a garden. Are they able to pick my vegetables while staying there? So you're thinking about all of the different amenities and things that your house has to offer. You have a lot of questions that you want to answer within your listing and your amenities. During this process, I used Word to create a story, to spell check, to utilize the grammar. I then sent it off to my friends and family to look at, to give me feedback, to edit, and then I started to post it on Airbnb's website. It's a super easy platform to utilize, and it also gives you the check marks of what your house has or does not have, and that I found very helpful. Step number 8, we're going to talk about the different availability options and the different booking options that you have as an owner. I found this to be the most challenging. How do I want to book this? Am I going to book this listing as I'm here present in my home and you're coming to visit while I'm here? Am I going to list this as a private space that you have access to? Is this a private space within my house and I'm here? Is there shared space? So there's a lot of different options here, and this is how I started booking in the beginning. I listed my house as a living room, a dining room, the kitchen, and a 1-bedroom with an outdoor space and a bathroom. I said that in the beginning. So in this space, I was not here in my residence. I was gone. I was traveling the world as people were coming to my space. So I listed it as a private 1-bedroom house. They had access to my coffee, my tea. They really had access to anything in the fridge, but I made it very specific as to what items they could utilize while there, and people were pretty respectful of it. I had a certain space in my refrigerator that they utilized. I had signs on all of my cabinets. I also let them know where the tea, the coffee, the creamer was, and how they used my coffee pot. My guest reviews definitely indicated that they loved those options, that they felt very homey in my space. I even offered a discount to the first 3 people that booked my place so I could have some reviews quickly. That's an option that Airbnb gives you. Now when I book my place, I'm usually home. I was able to add an additional listing. So I have the listing of just my home, and now I have an additional listing where it's a shared space. And those calendars can communicate with one another. So if somebody books my place as a private space, my other listing cannot be booked at that time. When it's booked as a private space, that means I gotta go. So sometimes when that happens, I have the option to decline that listing or allow them to come. I also have a general idea of when they're able to book. I don't allow people to book my space 1 day in advance. That doesn't give me enough time to clean. So I require them to give me at least 2 days notice. So I have ability to clean and an ability to go find something to do with my daughter for the weekend. And generally speaking, I only book my place on the weekends during the school year. This wasn't that big of an issue for us because it gave me the availability to just pick up and leave and go on a short vacation with her. And it gave me the money to go ahead and travel. See where I'm going with this? It wasn't necessarily about planning out a detailed vacation. It was more about just being able to explore, even if it's just locally. However, because I've made it so there's the shared space listing, I'm now able to allow other people into my home while I'm there. So I'm making an income. I'm not spending the money on vacation, but I have the space where they're able to stay, and it's separate from the room that I was renting as a private Airbnb. Step number 9. That's where we discuss the guidebook and the personal touches. It's really important when you're starting out in Airbnb to go to your local tourist office. Almost every city has one. So I went on a weekend there and I got to meet with somebody who was able to explain all of the different things that we have in our community. I also picked up little brochures about everything happening. I added my house to the happening newsletter. So every month I get a newsletter from our local government telling me what's in season, what's going on in our community. That gets added to my actual in-person paper guidebook. So I have a guidebook at my house that walks them through my community and all of the what's happening this month. I have pamphlets about the golfing, the leaf peeping, the hiking trails, restaurants, things that they can do in our community in this guidebook. I also have all of the local emergency phone numbers in there and how to contact me if they need me immediately. I put this guidebook in a little basket with some bottles of water and some snacks that I buy at Sam's Club. I don't spend a lot of money on this little welcome package, but I make it so it's accessible to them. It feels like I had them in mind when I created the space. It makes them welcomed and it gives them a lot of different options. I also create a virtual guidebook. They have the opportunity to really get to know the area before they come and plan things out. I also message them upon their booking and I let them know, hey, I have a virtual guidebook. Here's the link. Get in contact with me if you have any questions and tell me, why are you coming to stay with me? And I start this conversation with them when they book with me.
That way I can communicate with them different options and ideas in the area.
I'm pretty well versed in my community, and I think it's important that you are too when you're booking your place. If you're creating an organized and detailed listing with lots of different opportunities for exploration in your community, you're going to allow your visitors an opportunity to get to know you, but your town as well. Through this, you're sharing community and spirit. Step number 10. Prior to arrival, we talk with our guests. We find out what they want to do, why they're there, what brings them to your town. That's upon booking. Upon check-in, before they check in, maybe the day before, you find out, hey, what time are you checking in? What time will you be here? My check-in time is at 3 o'clock, but if somebody tells me, we're not getting there till 5, or this is our arrival time, I know how much time I kind of have to get my place in order. This might be a time where they then say, hey, do you mind if I check in early? And you start that rapport and conversation with them about their stay. It also gives you a little bit of notice if you have neighbors on either side of you to let them know, hey, my Airbnb people are arriving at about 10 p.m. That way they have an idea and an inclination as to what's happening next door, and they don't think the home is being burglarized or something like that. I have a Ring camera on the outside of my house. I think it's a great investment to have some kind of surveillance camera outside of your home. My listing on Airbnb definitely tells people that I do have surveillance, but I also have a little notice on my door that says this house is surveillanced. It's also kind of fun to spy on people at the front door. Just saying. Okay, so they ring, right? The ring goes off, it lets me know that they've arrived, and I send them a text message an hour or two later via the Airbnb platform. That's an important fact. Always use the Airbnb platform for messaging them, unless it's an emergency and they need to call you right away. This gives any guest and you protection in any kind of issues that arise, because sometimes that happens. So I see that they've arrived. I message them in an hour or two that says, welcome. I hope the check-in process was easy and smooth. Welcome to the property. If you need anything, let me know. If they've already let me know ahead of time that they're there for a hike, I sometimes even give them a weather report. Hey, the weather is supposed to be this weekend. Here's a great hiking trail you might enjoy. It's just some small talk. Sometimes I have quiet guests and they let me know thanks and we had a great weekend. Sometimes I have guests that ask a lot of questions. So this also depends on how hands-on you want to be. I make sure that I'm pretty much available to my guests when they're there. Hey, I'm not sure how to work your water faucet. That's good information to then add to my listing so they can find it easily the next time they come. Make sure your Wi-Fi passwords are somewhere that's easily accessible. I learned that the first time. I didn't have it tucked away in the hidden area on Airbnb, so once they actually book, they can find that information. But I also post it in my house for them to find easily. If I notice that guests are asking a lot of questions about my specific listing when they come to visit, I make sure I update my profile so all of those questions are then answered. You will still get the occasional person who asks the same redundant questions. So after the people have been there for a day or two, and generally speaking, my house gets reserved for 4 days. Upon the last day, I reach out to them, I ask them how their visit was, what time they're planning on checking out, and once in a while I get somebody to ask, hey, do you think we could stay an extra hour? Or, yes, we're leaving at 7 in the morning. And we had fun. This helps me gauge what time I can return back to my home and what kind of condition it might be in. Sometimes people ask me, hey, where do I leave the towels and the blankets? Some people ask, do I go ahead and make the bed again?
No, it's okay. You can leave that unmade.
Usually, I return back and my home is spotless. Spotless. I have never had an issue. After my guests leave, I generally ask them, how was your stay? Did you enjoy it? What was it like? I look for that feedback, and I also ask them at this time, I would love it if you gave me a 5-star rating on everything. And if you have any feedback that you'd like to share with me that's negative, not necessarily negative, but I just say if you have any feedback that you'd like to share with me, I'd love to hear it in this chat. And so people generally will let me know how it went, and if they had anything that was negative or might hinder a great review, they generally share it in the chat, and then we're able to communicate, and I still get a 5-star rating for the most part. Step number 11. How to list your Airbnb when you're home, and who to list it for. So if you're like me, you don't necessarily want males coming up in your home or full families coming up in your house when you're there, but you can't really discriminate against them. So how do you create this in your listing? You want to be open and honest in your listing, and you want to kind of deter those kind of people from booking your stay. I don't necessarily say, hey, I'm a single mama. I don't really want to put that out there to the world, but I do edit my advertising for this listing. Remember when I said you could have 2 listings, the one for when you're not home and the one for when you're home? The one from when you're home, you want to advertise it a little bit differently so you have the ability to require somebody to request to book that house, and you also have the option to add questions that they must answer before you allow them to book with you. In my private space booking, I allow them to book that automatically. I don't require them to request a booking. But when I'm booking with people who are staying, I request them to book, and then I ask them to explain why they're coming and who they're coming with. And if they're coming with a full family, deny. If it's a male, deny. I'm able to deny anybody in my space that I feel I don't want there. I don't have to give an explanation, and it doesn't necessarily impact your rating on Airbnb. If you're listing it both ways, instant bookings kind of puts you a step up and gets you to be a more valuable Airbnb client. If you're requesting them to book and asking questions, it kind of puts you lower on the totem pole, but if you have both, you're good. I called Airbnb to ask, how do I do this in a safe way where I'm only really encouraging single moms who are traveling? And the response was, ask the right questions. Who are you traveling with? How many children are coming with you? And why are you traveling? You're able to then start an open discussion where you get to be a little bit more specific. Now, I don't discriminate against mamas who are visiting. If they're married and they're visiting solo with their children, I'm totally cool with that. If they're a single woman traveling, no children, I'm okay with that. I just don't want married couples and their children in my household. Plus, my spare room only really holds 2 to 3 people. So I list it as 1 adult up to 2 children, and that pretty much keeps things a little bit easier for me. If you have more questions about how to list your place on Airbnb, find me over on Facebook Messenger. That's the easiest place to reach out to me. You can find me at Tina Dierna. All right, guys, hope you had a wonderful time.